Welcome back to the Astral Tourist once more. Today we will take a short astral meandering. We'll be venturing into a liminal space, a place between the familiar and the unknown. It's an enigma wrapped in simplicity, and the deeper I went, the more questions it left behind. Maybe you can make more sense of it than I could. Let's see where this liminal detour takes us. Just a quick note that this is an astral experience from March 22nd, 2025, not last night. I'm still getting caught up, getting them recorded and shared and all of that. And I have a few more too that are kind of backed up. So more to come. Now for that liminal detour. As I fell asleep, I just had a blackout phase that time. I did not have to struggle to get out, thank goodness. Before autonomously astral projecting into a large room bathed in soft white light. Tables were neatly arranged, each one holding a plain white tablecloth and plain white cake or cakes, unadorned and simple, almost too understated for a celebration. Through the walls, I could see another room similarly prepared. Just as a quick tip, you can use 360 astral vision to see through walls with a little practice. It can be disorienting though, so practice somewhere you don't care about getting disoriented in the astral. The light in both spaces enveloped everything in a soft, encompassing glow. The entire area felt like a dimension between dimensions, a kind of liminal space. These always feel a little bit off to me, but not necessarily in a bad way, just kind of a weird way. Telepathically, I was informed that a seat had been saved for me at the birthday party, but I couldn't tell who had telepathed that to me, and I still wasn't seeing super clearly. Like I was seeing blurry forms around these tables, but the tables themselves were quite clear, the white tablecloths and these plain white cakes on each table. So for the smaller tables that were more square, they had one cake for the people there to share. And the longer rectangular tables had, about three because they were quite long tables. So anyway, I was thinking, okay, so it's a party after all, since somebody had specifically said a seat had been saved. And, here were cakes, and it was a celebration, even though it was very sedated. So I moved toward a long rectangular table, only to find no empty spots to sit in. Looking further down the table, just kind of scanning around as best as I could with my blurry vision, I saw an empty seat already claimed by someone else, and they almost shouted, "It's saved," like not quite a telepathic shout, but "It's saved," and their tone was very final, leaving zero room for doubt. It clearly was not saved for me. A sense of disconnection flowed through me. The room, while warm, also felt distant at the same time. And that could have been that liminal space feeling again. I wasn't sure. But I also realized I did not recognize any of the people there. So it wasn't related to anybody that I knew that had passed on, because I've seen a lot of those people before, and I know how they feel and what their spaces feel like. And this was something different. It was like being invited to a party, but then your friend doesn't introduce you around. Have we all been there once or twice? I don't know if we all have, but I have a few times. And normally I go around and introduce myself, but this was feeling pretty weird to me, so I held back a bit. And I didn't seem to have a friend there either, even though I had just been told a space had been saved. I realized I couldn't recall whose birthday it was. Now, I don't know anybody who's having a birthday in my current physical life around me right now. Or even those who I know who have passed having birthdays. They're not in this time period. So the confusion deepened as I tried to regain lucidity and get more clarity. But the more I tried, the further I seemed to drift away from that clarity. I decided to leave that first room and floated on through the wall into the second room I had observed. This room had the same bright energy, but it felt more intimate and quieter. There were more square tables around, so I chose one tucked away against the left wall. From my perspective, I had just gone through a wall, and then this square table I saw was up against a left one, and at first I thought the entire table was empty, but I soon realized as I got closer there was an older woman sitting in one of the seats, but the other seat was definitely vacant, and she wasn't telling me to go away, so I decided to hang out there in that seat. Her gaze was vacant as though she were also caught between two worlds in this odd liminal dimension. I understood just how she felt, like right away, because I was right there with her. Despite her detachment, there was something oddly comforting about her presence. It kind of felt, like we had both been forgotten or something and tucked away in the back. And we were like in the secondary room. And I noticed the cake on our table was as plain as the others, and she seemed content with it. "I'm glad it's plain," she quietly telepathed to me, really quietly and gently. "I've always liked plain food." Her tone carried a gentle simplicity, echoing the understated nature of the gathering. I could have reminded her that she no longer needed to worry about upsetting her digestion or adhering to physical limitations, but something held me back. It felt almost unkind to draw attention to the fact that she was now beyond such earthly concerns. I could tell this woman had been passed on for a very long time. I don't know how long. But I figured if plain cake made her happy, why not let it continue making her happy, at least for this party. Someone else can point the rest out to her later. It's a party. You don't want to bring someone down at a party. So instead I sat quietly, gazing at the cake in front of me, falling into an odd kind of meditative state. I had no desire to eat it. It seemed insignificant, just a small plain thing in a place that did not quite make sense to me. Eventually, a thought crossed my mind. Why bother eating anyway, when I wasn't even 100% sure I was meant to be there? The sense of not belonging continued to grow stronger. I didn't recognize anyone. I kept looking around, hoping that I would, find someone or something familiar, and I just didn't. And I began to wonder that I wasn't truly invited. Maybe I had made some kind of a mistake, got the wrong astral coordinates, because it's very odd for me to not recognize anything or anyone or anything about a place at all. So it began to feel wrong to even stay there, so I decided to wake myself up. I figured I had other things I could be doing, and it's kind of the same in the physical, isn't it? Like if you're invited to a party and you don't know anybody, and you're feeling left out, and plus the space feels odd, and you might feel a little bit disconnected and disoriented, right? But this is, in the astral, things like that are times like a million, so everything is amplified. So I just decided, I was going to wake myself up and, go somewhere else, and that was going to be fine. Sometimes it does take a few moments for me to wake myself up. I have a whole video about that, a whole podcast about that for people that have trouble waking up. But I wasn't in any hurry anyway, so I was taking my time waking up this time and just had made the command I was going to wake up. Things were getting more blurry. And just as I was beginning to make that transition in that middle state between astral projection and sleeping and waking, somewhere in all of that, an image flashed in my mind. A bright, glowing white light, followed by a picture of an email. The subject line was filled with red hearts. I don't remember how many, like 5 or 6 maybe. And the words in the body of the message said, "Thanks for being," And the sentence trailed off, like that's as far as they got as I was waking up and transitioning back to the waking world. And I did get like a sense of gratitude along with it, like a feeling of gratitude had been sent. So I realized, of course, that meant thanks for being at the party. And the simplicity of the message, like the plainness of the cake, resonated with me. It was very direct and straightforward. And, hey, thanks for coming along with gratitude and love. And it was a quiet reminder of the understated nature of the entire experience. I'm feeling like that also definitely meant I'd been invited. Otherwise, why would I get a thank you note, basically? So the question remains, whose birthday party was it? I may never know. Liminal spaces are those in-between places, existing at the threshold between the familiar and the unknown. So I'll just be the one to fill in the gap here and say, happy birthday to everyone, whenever your birthday is. That way, I'll be sure not to have missed it, right? I got it covered now. Well, I hope. Thanks for joining me on this short astral meandering. If you enjoyed this liminal detour, please share, like, and subscribe. And I would love to hear all of your experiences, the liminal ones and all. Until next time, happy astral travels.